Welcome to the island, welcome to the Grand Hotel, and welcome to the 37th Annual Mackinac Policy Conference. Anyone been here for all 37 years? Okay, I'm just checking because you're really dating yourselves. Since 2010, just since 2010, we have welcomed almost 90 national thought leaders to this stage to talk about what's happening in Michigan and to get a national perspective on how we can learn from others and how we can make this state better. And when you look at where we started as a state in 2010 versus where we are today, I think we all have to feel really good about where this state is and where it is today. So this is just one of the reasons why this event attracts over 1,600 of Michigan's top civic, corporate, and political leadership every year. And this is unique in the nation. Every state would love to have something like we have here at the Mackinac Policy Conference, a statewide management seminar that impacts the fabric of our conversations. But we're unique in Michigan, and we're proud that we have this. We have an incredible lineup for you this year, an incredible lineup. And our chair, Stephen Polk, will talk about some of the highlights in just a minute. Now, every year we work hard to make sure that this event is even better than the year before. And we wanted to make a better use of your time every year. Most notably this year, we have upgraded our stage yet again, with apparently an additional billion retina-searing pixels for your eye enjoyment. So feel free to bring your sunglasses. We've also expanded our Future Leaders program. 30 of Michigan's next generation leadership is here on the island for the first time, including a group of them who are going to Harvard Business School this summer for a special program through HBS. And our thanks to our friends at Bank of America for making the participation of those 30 leaders here on Mackinac a possibility. And I also want to thank and honor our friends and partners at the Grand Hotel, which is celebrating their 130th anniversary this summer. Now, we could not pull off this event without our friends and partners at the Grand Hotel. Our teams are fused as one, and we are so grateful for Dan Musser and his team for everything that they do for us and with us. Now, as you know, the Grand Hotel is a place for romance. You don't think about romance at a policy conference. But after all, there is lilac in the air, there are flowers on the wall, and this, of course, is the location for one of the great romantic movies of all time, Somewhere in Time. Now, I don't think they're in the theater today, but there is a great example of romance with us at this conference today. Celebrating their 50th anniversary at the Mackinac Policy Conference are our friends Tim and Patty McCarthy. So when you see Tim and Patty, wish them a happy 50th anniversary. Now, if you are also celebrating your 50th anniversary and have brought your spouse to a policy conference, please let us know because we can get you and the McCarthys a group rate on therapy. Of course, sponsors make all of this possible, and we have 57 fabulous sponsors this year. Each of our sponsors, big or small, play an important role in making everything happen that you see, touch, and most importantly, eat and drink. So we're very appreciative of our sponsors, and most importantly, coming back again as our premier sponsor, our diamond level sponsor, Blue Cross Blue Shield of Michigan. And thank you. And Blue Cross Blue Shield does so much, obviously, for us at the Detroit Regional Chamber, but so much for Michigan and the nonprofit organizations across the state. We couldn't be more thankful. And we're going to see Dan Lepp on this stage later on in the program. Our platinum sponsors include some of the who's who of great Michigan companies: Consumers Energy, Huntington Bank, the MEDC, the MLive Media Group, PNC Bank, the Quicken family of companies, UPS, and the W.K. Kellogg Foundation. Please thank all of our premier sponsors for me. Okay, now I get to do some housekeeping and logistics. So we run on the app, folks. So if you haven't downloaded the conference app, you got to do that. That has the agenda, that has the schedule changes, it has all the speaker bios. As you know, we don't do long-winded introductions of our speakers. We just roll from one to the other. We run a pretty tight ship. So if you want more information, it is on the app. And once you get the app on your phone, I want you to turn on notifications. Now, this is important. Now, I promise you, we are not going to try to sell you Ginsu knives. You're not going to get any notifications that there's a gray Buick in the Grand Hotel parking lot with its lights on. That was actually pretty funny. But turning on notifications will alert you if there's a schedule change, or if there's a venue change, or if there's free drinks someplace that you don't know about. You will want that on your app. Now, we have over 1,600 of top Michigan's leaders here today. But this is a conversation that might take place in this room on this stage, but it's for the entire state of Michigan. This is why we have over 130 working media registered at the conference in Media Row, but you too have a role. You have a role in expanding this conversation so it reaches more than the 1,600 leaders that are in this room. We want you to take photos. We want you to use your social media machines, your Twitter machine or your Facebook machine. Use the hashtag MPC17 because we want this conversation to go out. What did you hear that was interesting? What did you hear that concerned you? What did you hear that you really thought was a great idea? Share that information on your social media so this conversation can be shared across the state. And as I mentioned earlier, we do have this great media relationship with lots of media organizations. But I want to focus on one for just a second, and that's Detroit Public Television. Detroit Public Television broadcasts our sessions live, not just here in the theater, not just down to Detroit, not just across the state, but they make that sessions, all these sessions available across the nation, free of charge for any media or anyone. You can watch the program on broadcast, you can watch the programming on streaming, completely free of charge thanks to Detroit Public Television. So while there may be 1,600 people attending this conference, over 60,000 people are actually watching the content that's taking place in these chairs right here. And in addition to that, their chief anchor, Christy McDonald, is at the anchor desk right now covering this conference, interviewing our speakers, interviewing our attendees, and interviewing our elected officials that are in attendance. I have another person to thank. I want to thank Tim Smith of Skidmore Studio, one of our great Detroit Regional Chamber board members, for producing this year's Mackinac edition of the Detroiter, which you have on your chairs. This cover really captures what the Mackinac Policy Conference is all about. It's about bringing people together for a civil conversation. And I love this cover. I truly love this cover. A Democrat and a Republican coming together for a civilized cup of tea at the Great Grand Hotel. Although Stephen Henderson and Nolan Finley are pretty convinced there's bourbon in those cups. Now, the Detroiter cover does highlight just one of our three pillars, and that pillar is restoring civility in American politics and discourse. And I just want to take a moment to dwell on this Mackinac pillar for just a moment. So you don't have to look far today to look for how political discourse in our society has truly eroded. Political discourse is now a Rorschach test. How people react to an event or a person or a policy is colored by political bias, overcolored by political bias. Just two examples. Last week, Montana congressional election. On the eve before his election to Congress, the candidate who won body slammed a reporter. Now, I'm a Republican. I'm a proud, long-life Republican, and this candidate was a Republican. But in my opinion, too many Republicans across the country came to his defense. That's unacceptable behavior in American political discourse, in my opinion. The other example, and you can throw a darts and you can figure all these examples of how discourses are rated. Last July, excuse me, after the tragic events in Dallas where 5 police officers were brutally slain, there was an interfaith service attended by both President Bush and President Obama to heal the community. Now, this was a moment of national healing. A Republican president joining his Democratic successor, one white, one black. But the hyper-partisans in our society could not resist the political Rorschach testing. Now, President Obama said at that service, when the bullets flew, the officers did not flinch. President Bush said at that service, too often we judge other groups by their worst examples while judging ourselves by our best intentions. It was a beautiful moment. It was a beautiful moment for our nation. And it was a beautiful moment for Dallas that was really suffering an incredible loss. But the reactionary right could not help but go after President Obama for not sufficiently supporting the police at that moment. And the reactionary left could not help but be outraged by a man who had been out of office for 7 years, mind you, for swaying during the Alleluia chorus with Michelle Obama. We as a society can and must do better. So this event is about political discourse. And when we talk about extending our ethos of disagreeing without being disagreeable, we've added a new programming element. So Friday morning is going to be completely new. Now, for those of you, the brave, the hardy, who survived Bourbon Night, we have a new programming element on Friday. So we know on Friday morning, you all are focused on getting out of Dodge. So instead of having you come into the theater, we're going to take the programming to you. We're going to move our stage programming from the stage into the parlor Friday morning. We're going to have compressed 15-minute segments hosted by the same great journalists that you're going to see on stage today and Thursday, talking about political topics, one right after another. So we want you to come to the parlor. We want you to have a cup of coffee, want you to have a croissant in your hand, have your luggage ready to go, listen to the conversation for a while. It's going to be televised. It's going to be part of our overall streaming. But that way you can kind of come and go as you please, and you don't have to come into the theater. We think that's going to be a new, exciting element to our program. Lastly, what I want to talk about is that this conference is a tremendous success thanks to you. Thanks to you, those of you who have coming for your first year or your 37th year. We couldn't do this without you. But I want to let you know that your support for this statewide event has a direct impact on what happens back in the Detroit region. And especially if you call the Detroit region home, hopefully this is important to you. So your support of the Mackinac Policy Conference helps support our foundation at the Detroit Regional Chamber, which hosts all of our economic development programs under the umbrella called Forward Detroit. And these programs include our statewide program, MishAuto, which is about next generation automotive and supporting our automotive industry. Destination Detroit, which is our regional economic development program that comprises 11 counties plus the city of Detroit. Detroit Promise, which provides universal college access, either 2-year or 4-year, to every Detroit student. And Health Forward, which is about raising our health rankings in the Detroit region because we need to get our health rankings up. And all of these programs work in unison to move 5 key pillars, either community, people, global connectivity, talent, or next generation mobility. And each one of these pillars has their own set of metrics, like growing our entire region's population by 1%, or reducing our unemployment rate as a region to 4.5%, getting our per capita income to over $37,000 a year, and remaining the #1 spot in the world for global testing and research for next generation mobility. So while many of you are a long way from home, I want you to know that what you're doing here helps back home if you're from the Detroit region. And if you're not from the Detroit region, we are so very grateful for your support and your time of this statewide event, and we are very, very grateful. So Forward Detroit is funded not only by you, but by 200 great companies, because most of our support comes from the great corporate partners that help put on this conference and all our other programs. So with that, I want to thank you again for being here. We are thrilled to have you all. And with that, let the program begin. Thanks so much.
Please welcome the President and Chief Executive Officer of Highgate LLC and the Chair of the 2017 Mackinac Policy Conference, Stephen Polk.
Well, good morning, everyone. Oh, that's good. Any first-timers at the conference this year? Quite a few. That's good. Any first-timers on Mackinac Island? Quite a few again. Wow. You're in a very special place. This event has really been an honor for me to be chairman for. I'm delighted to be here and serving this year. Once again, we've had really great input from a substantial committee of people that volunteered to put their time into the program. I think you can expect to see many thought-provoking speakers on the agenda. The panelists are great and really in a position of encouraging critical discussions. And as you'll see, everything you hear through the discussions centers around the strategic pillars that were put in place. Each year at the conference, we go through and identify unique topics that are really special based on the world around us. These pillars serve as a guide to ensure discussions are relevant, focused, and timely about what's happening in the world today. We certainly can't address everything that's happening economically in the state of Michigan, certainly not in 3 days, couldn't do that in 3 weeks. But we do feel that the 3 pillars that we're in discussion with this year will create a foundation for a very, very engaging agenda. The 3 pillars specifically, Sandy's touched on a little bit, restoring civility in politics. I mean, really, could you come up with a more topical idea than civility in politics in today's world? We seem to be reminded every day of the need. The second pillar is about winning the race in connected technology. This is Michigan's race to win, and we need to be a part of that. We all have a stake. The last pillar is about increasing economic opportunity. What can we do? Specifically on the first pillar, civility in American politics is about business and civic leaders taking the time to shape public discourse. What we need to do is restore the concept of art of compromise as political process. It's a badly polarized political environment today, and we can all help to change that and bring it back to a more balanced situation. Under this pillar this year, we'll hear from the likes of Stephanie Cutter, Harold Ford Jr., and Anna Navarro. These are Washington insiders. They'll discuss the trend of hyper-participantship and where the opportunities lie to have a more civil conversation. We'll also hear from presidential historian Michael Beschloss. Michael will talk about the historical look at presidential leadership qualities throughout the years. It's very possible we can examine how President Trump's unconventional style may play out compared to his predecessors. The second pillar, winning the race in connected technology. We're going to focus on what it takes to capitalize on Michigan's foundations, the strengths we have in next generation mobility. We've got a leadership position, but it's not just about the connected car. We have an ability to take a leadership across all of connectivity. This includes connectivity of things, ties into the automotive infrastructure as well, but the connectivity of everything can be joined through big data, which is something that we have a role in. Understanding the information value. Walter Isaacson, President and CEO of the Aspen Institute, best-selling author, will be on stage to share lessons of collaboration and innovation. He's been looking at history of some of the greatest entrepreneurs from the past. I think there are lessons in here on how you discuss how we can advance Michigan's role as a leader in creativity and entrepreneurship. Fortune Magazine's leading journalist and expert on automotive is Jeffrey Colvin. He's going to share his insights and talk about the transformative power of technology and how Michigan can put its significant world-class assets to use in forwarding. Our last pillar, increasing economic opportunity. This will focus on shrinking the economic gap. What can be done to enhance the quality of life for all Michiganders? In a fireside chat, Darren Walker, who is president of the Ford Foundation, he will share insights on the importance of inclusion and on some of the tools that can be used to close the gap. Amy Liu is a national expert on cities and metropolitan areas. She serves as a vice president and director of the Metropolitan Policy Program at the Brookings Institute. Amy will discuss her blueprint for investing in people and tying together infrastructure with a strategy that's going to be needed for communities, businesses, and government leaders to take the next steps for economic growth and making it more inclusive. These are just a few of the speakers that you're going to hear from this week. Really a great lineup. Once again, I want to say thank you to all the 57 sponsors. We couldn't do this without you. But I'd really be remiss if I didn't thank all the staff and the leaders of the Detroit Regional Chamber. They make this event hum. What you're seeing is because of their hard work and effort together with the people at the Grand Hotel. It's wonderful to be here. Thank you all for being here. You're what makes the conference special.